Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Tuesday night, there was just one matchup of top 25 teams, one matchup actually of top 15 teams. And it was a game that, let's be honest, I don't think many of us thought was going to be like, an all-time classic. Tennessee coming off the loss to Auburn, but at the same time, Kentucky not only coming off back-to-back losses to Alabama and Vanderbilt on the road, but we got the news Monday evening, starting point guard Lamont Butler was going to be out for this game. If you had watched the previous two games, you kind of saw he clearly wasn't 100%. I think, he took a couple really hard falls against Texas A&M a few weeks ago. So he's out. Andrew Carr, while played, was very limited, who's the starting forward. And then the backup point guard, Kirk Reese, is out. And so I'll be honest, Tennessee came in as a double-digit favorite. I thought that was a little bit aggressive, but you just sat there and said, how is Kentucky going to be able to run offense against statistically the best defensive team in all of college basketball? Well, it turns out you don't have to worry all that much because Kentucky gets the victory 78-73. I'll be transparent. I think it's the best win of the Mark Pope era, which sounds crazy because Duke is currently number 2 in the country. But let's go ahead and dive in because, man, oh, man, oh, man, if you are a Kentucky fan, you sure do have to be happy, okay? So first of all, a big picture thought coming into this game is exactly what I just said, is the injuries were mounting. We just discussed who was going to be out. And I just really thought worst case scenario going to Tennessee on the road, but also a Tennessee team that defensively is quite literally the best team in college basketball. Number 1 in the country in three-point defense, number 2 in points allowed, number 3 in field goal percentage defense. And I just said, how are they going to be able to run an offense, okay? Well, first possession in the game, Kobe Brea, three-pointer. Well, I guess it was the second possession, but you get the point. Kobe Brea, three-pointer. Jackson Robinson hits a three-pointer. Jackson Robinson hits yet another three-pointer. And then, oh, by the way, Ansley Almanor hits one. Kentucky goes up 12-4 before the break. And the first TV timeout, you sit there and say, oh, they might be ready to go in this one. And then beyond that, they come out of the timeout. They're playing well. Tennessee does make a run before the half to take a slight lead. But out of the break, out of the halftime break, Kentucky goes on an 11-2 run. They take control of the game. And I'll be honest, I know that it kind of got a little dicey at the end there with free throws and this and that. I just felt like Kentucky was outside of about a 4 or 5 minute stretch to end the first half. They were completely in control of this game. They get the win. There's probably some conversations to have about Tennessee, but right now we got to go ahead and focus on Kentucky, okay? Because the bottom line is, like I said, I think given the circumstances, you could argue that this was the best win of the Mark Pope era. By the way, you know what we got after a night like last night? We got Hope and Pope, baby. That's right. We got Hope and Pope. Yeah, we still got plenty of t-shirts. We just got a new shipment in, as a matter of fact. So make sure you get your Hope and Pope tees at AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise. We got Hope and Pope after this one because it was just, in my opinion, maybe the best win. And I think it shows a couple different things about this team. One, the mental resilience of this group, okay? I mean, again, this is a group that was down 3 guys that were probably, you would say, were in their top 6, top 7 to start the year. I know Andrew Carr technically played. I know somebody's going to get in the comments and say, well, Andrew Carr, he played like 3 minutes, and he's clearly not 100%. And when you think about starting point guard, backup point guard, wing, forward, that's a stretch 4, that's maybe your most versatile piece, you kind of just sit there and say, like, Kentucky's not going to be in very good shape coming into this game. But what it showed was the mental resiliency of this team, okay? You think about the guys that stepped up. First of all, Ansley Almanor, I think is frankly one of the best stories in college basketball. I remember talking about him when he committed, and if you remember, he was at Fairleigh Dickinson, and we talked about this after the Mississippi State game. But, he was at Fairleigh Dickinson, was a guy that committed really late in the process, was headed to Siena before Kentucky recruited him and offered him. And I think there was this thought of, oh, my God, you're recruiting against Siena. Well, this shows how Pope isn't, the same as the last guy. And it's like, but I said at the time, I said, if he's your 9th man, He's a guy that hit over 100 3-pointers last year at, even at the low major level. I said, if that's a guy that you're getting as your eighth, ninth man off the bench, you're going to be in pretty good shape. Okay. And so I bring it up. I think it was just under, by the way, I'm looking it up now. It's just under 100 3-pointers. It was only 93. So forgive me. But that guy comes off the bench early, doesn't complain, doesn't whatever. With all the injuries he's thrown into the starting lineup, he gets you some crucial points in this game. And this is what I'm talking about as far as a guy that has found a role and the resilience of this group for him to step up when his team needs him most. By the way, a guy that you thought maybe the 8th, 9th, 10th guy on the team, double figures in 4 of the last 5 games as he has been called into action. Beyond that, how about Trent Noah? Trent Noah, if you remember, freshman from the state of Kentucky, wasn't recruited by the previous coaching staff, was committed to South Carolina. And I will tell you, when Pope took over, I started to hear some buzz of like, this kid wants to be at Kentucky. Is there a way for him to get out of his scholarship, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And he gets out of his scholarship. He ends up decommitting from South Carolina. But how about this? This kid had not played in an SEC game until last Saturday, comes off the bench on Tuesday, only his second SEC appearance as a Kentucky Wildcat, hadn't played much the last few weeks, has 5 big points, including a 3-pointer, early. It was a huge confidence boost. And you could see, like, when he hit that 3-pointer, the whole bench was just like, oh, we are not losing this game. And so you have a freshman who has played in one SEC game previously stepping up. You have Ansley Almanor, a kid from Fairleigh Dickinson, stepping up. And I will say, listen, because I know some people are going to get in the chat and be critical. And Torres, you say that nobody outside of Otega Oweh and Lamont Butler give us any consistency. I think that's somewhat true. What I will also say is there might not be a team in college basketball that has more guys that can step up in a moment than this Kentucky team. And so I look at him, and you know who this falls on, in my opinion? It falls on Mark Pope. And it falls on Mark Pope and his ability to motivate, to inspire, and to put people in position to succeed on this roster, okay? Again, listen, when you recruit guys in the summer, it's one thing to say you're going to play this role, this is what you're going to do, but then injuries happen, the season happens, you just sit there and say, stuff comes up, and guys need to step up. And so I solely bring it up to very simply say that for Mark Pope to get this group on the road when everybody's telling you, oh, just put this one aside and you're going to be on a 3-game losing streak against Arkansas and focus on Arkansas and beat them and whatever, to go into Tennessee and get this win, to me, is so impressive given the circumstances. And so I bring it up because I love the way that he motivates. I love the way that he inspires every guy on that roster. And this is one of the great things about having a veteran team that has guys that have been there before, that have been through the process, that aren't afraid of these moments. And you just see different guys stepping up, but then you see that confidence trickling down to the guys that haven't been in these moments, like a Trent Noah or younger guys on this roster. Colin Chandler, by the way, hadn't really played very much, got some big minutes in this game. And so as we kind of wrap the Kentucky portion of this, first of all, let me say this. I mean, Mark Pope is bananas right now. Okay. We have a poll going in the chat about, is he your national coach of the year? Listen, I think you give it to Pat Kelsey. I think you give it to Bruce Pearl. I actually think Rick Pitino is kind of making a run here, 18-3 at St. John's right now. But at the same time, what I will say, man, you look at Mark Pope, it's kind of unbelievable what he is doing in big games. Okay. With this win, Kentucky now 6-1 against ranked teams in Mark Pope's first season. By the way, the only loss he had was to Alabama, which might be the best team in college basketball. I think Auburn's better, but Alabama has a case as the best 1 or 2 teams in college basketball. But you have 6 wins against ranked teams right now. It's not even February yet, and you have 6 ranked wins. How about this? 5 of the 6 are against teams currently in the top 15, 4 of the 6 away from Rupp. You have a great win over Duke that continues to get better with age. By the way, Duke, I think, is going to finish 18-2, 19-1 in the ACC. You have the victory not only over Duke, you have the Gonzaga win in Seattle. I know Gonzaga's struggling a little bit right now, but you flew across the country and beat Gonzaga in their home territory. You beat a great Florida team. Florida's playing tonight. They got Tennessee on Saturday. I've said it all along. I think that's a Final Four caliber team. Of course, you win at Mississippi State. You beat Texas A&M, and now you have this win. But what I will say is, in my opinion, while I think Tennessee might not be quite as good as we thought, we'll get to them in a minute, this was Mark Pope's most impressive win as a Kentucky Wildcats basketball coach. Let me tell you why. It's not just that it was a top 15 opponent or top 10 opponent, really, when you think about it. It's not just that it was on the road. It was the circumstances around it. It's one thing to go to Tennessee when you're at 100% and you find a way and you're good. It's an incredible thing to beat Tennessee no matter what. But to do it, one, on the road, but two, when you're down the bodies that you are, and you have guys step up that not only haven't stepped up all year, haven't even been asked to step up all year, haven't even been asked to play, and you put together a performance like that, it's unbelievable. Because think about this. As I said a minute ago, Tennessee, number 1 in the country in three-point defense. Yeah. Kentucky, 12 of 24 from behind the three-point arc. Not great at math. That's 50%. Tennessee, number 3 in the country in field goal percentage defense. Kentucky shoots 50% from the field without their starting point guard, without their backup point guard. Yes, 50% from the field, 50% from 3. The 78 points allowed by Tennessee, the most that Tennessee has allowed all year. And you can't say they haven't played good people. Auburn statistically has one of the best offenses through this point that we've ever seen in the modern era of college basketball, not to mention Illinois, not to mention some of these other teams that they have played. So for Kentucky, for Mark Pope, I'm here to tell you, I think it's the most impressive win of his tenure. I know Duke is number 2 in the country. I know going to Seattle and beating Gonzaga, beating Mississippi State on the road, but to go to Knoxville and beat this specific team under this specific set of circumstances, it's unbelievable. And like I said, if you don't have hope in Pope right now, both literally and figuratively, again, you can get the shirt at AaronTorresOnline.com. If you don't have hope in Pope, if you don't have hope in that guy right there, man, oh man, oh man, I just don't know what to tell you. What a win for Kentucky.